I would like to acknowledge that we are on the lands of the Widjabul Waiable people of the Bundjalung Nation and pay respects to elders past, present and emerging, and acknowledge that within and without the buildings, this land always was and always will be Aboriginal land. Thank you so much for joining us for our open day today. Our fantastic panel, the first of the day, is talking about studying science at SCU. So my name's Ellen. I'm a future students officer from Southern Cross University in Coffs Harbour, but I actually did my undergraduate degree here in Lismore, so it's nice to be back in Lismore. I'm joined by a fantastic panel who I will hand over now to tell you all a little bit about themselves and their connection to Southern Cross University.
So I think I'll go first. My name's Mandy Reichelt-Brechette. I'm a professor in the Faculty of Science and Engineering, and I've worked here for about 20 years. I'm a marine and environmental scientist. I've done a lot of field work, a lot of laboratory work, and I've had many thousands of students pass through our course. So great to see you here today, and really open to have some chats and discussions along the way.
Thanks, Mandy. And Shimei.
Hi, so as you know, I'm Shimei. I studied biomedical and genetic engineering here, and I also work within the student ambassadors and admin for SU. And yeah, I just want to give you a bit of insight about the degree from a student's perspective.
Thank you, Shimei. So I'm going to start with a couple of questions for you, Mandy, if that's okay. First of all, it's a big question. What is it that inspires you to be a scientist and do the work that you do here?
Well, I think everyone needs to be inspired somewhere along the way, and some of you are starting your careers and you're stepping out of high school, and some of you are considering career changes. I came straight out of school into a degree in environmental science, and it was one of the first degrees in Australia in environmental science. And there's a point about science more generally, that when you study science and you're involved in science, you're always involved in discovery. Every sample that you take, every lab analysis that you do, or every time you're in the field, you're finding out something new. So your life becomes involved with discovery. And that means you're not doing the same thing all the time. So the job is really interesting. You might spend a lot of time on computers doing data analysis, but you do get those field experiences and those laboratory experiences. More specifically in terms of environmental science, though, it makes me feel like I'm in a positive position to make a difference. So we know there's a lot of problems with environmental systems in the world, and I'm sure a lot of you are here today thinking about you want to make a difference. And if you're actively involved and actively engaged in your job, it becomes part of your life, and you're becoming a +1 rather than a 0, or rather than a negative one where you're a consumer and the world is more there for you to look after rather than for you to exploit. So I really find that very important, very close to my heart, but it's a really inspiring job, and it's not boring. Thanks.
I can imagine. Not boring is something to aim for, I think. Can I ask you, at Southern Cross University we have our wonderful Bachelor of Science degree. Can you tell me a little bit of an overview of that degree and different ways students can shape their experiences in that degree?
Yeah, well, we reformed this degree a couple of years ago. So it's a title of Bachelor of Science, but it's got 4 specialisations. One is environmental systems, one is marine systems, the other one is forest systems. And there's a 4th, which if you stay on today, there's another presentation at 10:30 about regenerative agriculture systems. That's one of our newer specialisations. So you can come and join the Bachelor of Science degree and choose one of those specialisations. But we have about 6 common units. So if you not quite sure exactly which specialisation you want to graduate in, there is an opportunity to sort of move through that first year of study. You get to meet a lot of interesting people and connect with cohorts of like-minded people, and that helps to sometimes evolve, where your thinking is going. So that opportunity to move is great. We also have majors, and there's a major in applied chemistry, applied physics and mathematics, and biology. And some people will choose to do a double major and combine that. And that is a little bit more of a broad degree that sort of sets you up in a much broader field for science. There is a very popular degree too, which is a double degree, and it's a double degree and in our environmental systems and marine systems. And instead of 3 years, that one takes 4 years to complete. But it means you get that double certification on your degree at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's fantastic, Mandy. And there is so much flexibility within that Bachelor of Science to sort of follow your passion and explore those different areas to bring it all together for you. Mandy, would you be able to tell us a little bit more about honours programs and any research experiences that might be available after completing a Bachelor of Science?
So the Bachelor of Science is 3 years, and there's an opportunity to do a research year tapped onto the back of that, which is called honours. So you would graduate with a Bachelor of Science and honours. Our honours program in Bachelor of Science is a year-long program, and it's dedicated to giving you a research experience, and you would be involved in working very closely with one of our academic staff. You might be really interested in wildlife in terrestrial systems, so we'd hook you up with a staff member that does research and is an expert in that field. Or if you're interested in marine systems, we've got a range of staff that you might angle towards fisheries, or you might angle towards protected area management, for example. But your project revolves around something that you're interested in, something that's applied and useful for outcomes to benefit the environment, and gives you that research training that enables you to get a taste for whether you want to take that research pathway career. It's also really good in the job market because it demonstrates that you can do research, it demonstrates that you can write scientific writing, and demonstrates very clearly that you can think independently and think for yourself. So if you're going for a job and you've got the honours and most of the other people who apply, that is regarded much more highly than just the degree itself. So I think it's a year long, and it's still covered under the undergraduate system, which enables you to get can't remember the name of it, AusStudy. You can fill me in on that one.
Yeah, so because the honours program is part of an undergraduate degree, and our friends from Client Services at the back can interject if I say the wrong thing, that would mean you'd be eligible for the same government assistance as an undergraduate student. So even though it is a postgraduate study, it comes under that. So for benefits of AusStudy, AbStudy, youth allowance, and also your course fees as well.
Yeah, and then once you have honours, or even previous to honours, you might consider masters, and those are research programs, as well as a PhD post-honours, and that sets you up for a research career. And it ends up, if you do a PhD, you can call yourself a doctor, right? So we've got a couple of doctors in the room here. I'm a doctor. I did my PhD on the impacts of contaminants on early life stages of coral many years ago, but that's really set me up in the field of aquatic toxicology and pollution management.
Are you doing any current research?
Yeah, I have about 5 postgraduate students. One is just completing Masters by Research, and I have another 4 that are doing their PhDs at the moment. One is looking at contaminants in the Richmond River system, which is a really interesting topic for us here, because as you know, we have had recent floods, and we've got a very large catchment and a lot of interesting land uses. So that catchment management approach and understanding in the intimate connection between water and land is a really important part of our aquatic ecosystem and terrestrial ecosystem management. So I've got a PhD student working on that. I've got another student that's just started that's looking at plastics in the marine environment, and she's from Indonesia actually. So we've got some sites that are focused on Indonesia and also Australia. And I more broadly do a lot of ecotoxicology work, which is helping to set up our standards and our guideline values that we use to test our water quality against and ensure that we've got healthy aquatic ecosystems.
Yeah, that's super fascinating. Thank you for sharing that, Mandy. I'm going to ask you a couple questions now, Shimei, if that's okay. What majors or specialisations have you done in your science studies?
So underneath the broad Bachelor of Science, I went into a major of biology, which over the progression of my degree, I changed into a specialisation of biomedical and genetic engineering. This occurred through doing interdisciplinary work and also some cross-institutional work that pulled in those medical units to sit along my biology in order to bring more of a broad application to the genetics that I was applying. So it was both medical for humans and for animals. That's just where my interest led me.
Yeah, and I think you're a really good case, Shimei, of someone who has followed their interests all the way down the road and made that degree really work for you. So if anyone does have any, individual questions for Shimei at the end, please feel free to ask her more about how she structured her degree. Shimei, have you taken any of your subjects online, and how did you find that experience?
So I took about 10 out of my 24 subjects online, mainly over COVID, where we were not doing face-to-face classes. I personally do prefer my face-to-face practicals and hands-on work, and I think it's very important to the science degree. It gives you that enrichment. But I think SU did a really good job on the dime kind of movement with their online classes with COVID, and I found some of the advantages of it were definitely no travel time. That you could structure it in your day where you wanted it. It didn't have to be, I need to get a class at 9 a.m. It's like, I've got a doctor's appointment. I'll do it after that around 11 a.m. So it was really good for structuring your degree into the times that worked for you. It also was good because I could watch the lectures in double time, means I don't have to spend as long watching the lectures. Not everyone catches everything that fast, but you definitely get there by third year. And the other thing was definitely where I've moved a little bit past the normal progression and went and did cross-institutional study. It made the opportunity to do units at universities that were further away, really able to just integrate that because it was online and it was like doing it in my backyard. So I didn't have to worry so much about the 3-hour travel times that would have been the case.
Yeah, and just to clarify, cross-institutional studies means when you pick up some subjects from other universities and bring that into your degree as well. So it's not a common practice, but it is something you can do if there's subjects that you're really interested in and really wanting to study that we don't offer here at SCU. So we have a great relationship with other universities, and we can support you to find those subjects and bring it into your Bachelor of Science degree or any degree at SCU. So Shimei, you spoke about how, the practical side of things is a bit more exciting than studying online, and I think we would all probably tend to agree with you. Yeah. Can you give us a little bit of insights into what sort of practical experiences you've had, whether that's been in field work or here in the labs?
So definitely in your first year you do get in your very basic units like biology, which is mostly across the board no matter which one of your majors or specializations you take. You would learn how to use microscopes, autopipettes, you'd look at slide preparations and all those kind of main laboratory techniques that will set you up for your classwork later on. And they're conducted up in our labs, which are pretty well set up as a laboratory. I work in a laboratory now, and it feels very similar transferring into it. We also have like field trips that we do. We did one down at Iluka, working on the like marine area down there in the rock pools, and some of them have conservation where you'll go set up tracking sorts of traps where we can like monitor with cameras the movement of animals and test things such as the use of highway underpasses for animals or things like that to see how they're actually effectively working. And then on top of that, there is also a lot of extracurricular activities that the uni does offer and that you can be selected for. That also gives you a more hands-on experience that I guess gives you a bit of a niche on your resume as well. And after that, you also have at the end of your degree, you look at either a double internship or a double project, or you don't have to do them double, but you tend to. And the internship gives you an industry in. It will teach you in an 8-week usually progression that you work in that workspace, learn the techniques, and then usually after that you have an opportunity to actually work in that space, or you'd be able to take that somewhere else. As for the project, that's when you develop a mini project, a bit like honours, but only one that is a semester long. And you'd work your way through that, give it some testing. It's a really good setup if you do want to do honours or masters, because you've thought about your process before you've went into those harder subjects. If you're looking for something like first class honours, where you really want those grades up really high.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks, Shimei. And what are you hoping to do after you graduate?
So after I graduate, I'd really like to go into my forefront of genetics and work on genetic cures for endangered species. A great example of that would be the Tasmanian devil's facial tumour, definitely looking at some way of inoculating that gene that helps fix that. But I also am very keen about gene banks with our species. I think that it's an important document to write up the gene sequences. Also helps with your BLAST. BLAST is a software that you would use to search up those sequences to see in genetics whether your research applies to that animal. So it's a bit of fun and I
Big
think
plans.
important.
Yeah, very important. Thanks, Shimei. And one last question for you, Mandy, if that's okay. What's one piece of advice you would give to anyone who's thinking of studying science?
Oh, I have so much advice.
Give it all to us, please.
But I think it's really valuable to follow your passions because, and that's the case, I think, in any career. But if you're interested in science, there's such a wide range of opportunities and fields and different discipline areas to go into. So, move through a degree and channel your interests or your study to inspire you. There's just so much opportunity, and I think the environment needs good people who are passionate and who take it to the next level with their jobs and their lives and their livelihoods. So yeah, there's a place for your passion to fit into a really productive workplace.
That's awesome advice for everyone, I think, Mandy. Thank you. Okay, we're nearly at the end of the session, so I just wanted to ask if anyone in the room had any questions for our amazing panellists. Yeah, that's a great question. So if you are studying the Bachelor of Science or any of our SCU degrees online, you are eligible for the same level of support as our on-campus students. So that even comes down to our Indigenous support services, our counselling, our uni mentor, everything like that. You can still access that as an online student, and you can also access the campuses as well. So we have a fantastic site which is called Blackboard, which is where it's like our online learning environment. So all of your classes are loaded onto that Blackboard site, and you connect with your lecturers and your tutors on that Blackboard site. So your lectures will be uploaded there every week. There's things called discussion boards where you can speak to your amazing lecturers like Mandy, other students like Shimei, and that's where you submit all your work as well. So you would access your lecturers in a live learning environment in tutorials that would happen on that Blackboard site at a scheduled time. You would also have access to them through the discussion board and also direct through email or telephone as well. So there is lots of support available, whether you choose to study online or on campus. But Mandy, did you have anything to add to that from a teaching perspective?
Yeah, thanks, Ellen. I teach several units, have for many years, and this online environment is really well supported with technology these days. But in a lot of our units, not all of them, even if you're studying online, we have a compulsory practical component associated with those units, which would require you to come onto campus a couple of days during the term that you're studying, and you work with your cohort of students, and we will do field and laboratory work, and that is really important training for scientists to get that hands-on field-based learning and that laboratory experience, so you can understand things as simple as quality control and making sure that the numbers you get and you start plugging into some data set, you're really confident that your numbers are correct from the field. So that online environment, also in the term structure, we have like 1 hour face-to-face online tutorials every week during the term. So that's the sort of a check-in time. Your lecturer or your unit assessor will be there connecting with you, talking through the content of that week's module. But then, like Ellen said, you've also got the opportunity to use the discussion board and connect with students, and it's really helpful once you've met them with those field, you actually start developing student relationships, which, you know, really enhances the experience for students as well. And then, you know, you students email the lecturers and go, I'm having problems with this, can we catch up? And usually it's when there's problems that the students is trying to understand, that the lecturer will be connected one-on-one, but most often than not, you're working with your cohort of students as well. But it's a learning environment, right? So some of the most formative experiences that I've seen and I've had myself is when you make a mistake, right? You remember the mistakes you make so much more than remembering that cruising through the system. So I think all that type of face-to-face learning and that online learning, it's meant to be a nurturing environment. It's a learning environment. You're not meant to be experts yet. So, you know, have confidence that asking questions in those online environments and face-to-face is exactly what you're there for and what we're there to answer.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mandy. Unfortunately, we're out of time now for this panel session. So the next session in this room is regenerative agriculture. So if you're keen to stay around, please do. I would like to thank our amazing panellists and thank our audience members for being so great. Thank you so much, and we look forward to welcoming you to Southern Cross University.